What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Ghostwriter2Ts, and you know I'm back with another informative video. You guys make sure you go follow this guy. I will have links to his descriptions down in the description. I have links to this guy's channel. His name Joe Knows. He calls himself I'm Not That Boy. But go check his channel out, man. I just wanted to get y'all some information. This guy explains it very well. So make sure you watch the entire video so you know what's going on. You can pause this at any time.
Hey, I can't get you out of my mind. No, said I think about you all of the time.
So one of the people that got invited to Community Day ended up leaking some information. It ended up on Twitter. I did go and confirm with other people at Community Day that got to play the game that it is accurate. So it's not like I'm just posting some random Twitter post for you guys. Just want to make that clear. So it says on the first screen, she was able to choose her position: point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, and 2 new choices. So I don't know what that means, but let's move on. My player's skill breakdown. This seems to be some sort of preliminary archetype selection. She didn't read most of this out loud, so it was sort of hard to tell. She mentioned that the selections had colors that corresponded to the 4 attribute classes. Not sure if this is the real name, but I needed something to call them. These are blue for finishing, green for shooting, yellow for playmaking, red for defense. This is kind of like that pie chart maybe you guys heard about, some people were talking about, posting about. This is kind of where that pie chart comes into play with these colors and stuff like that. This choice seemed to limit the cap, more on this later, for different stats. Initially, she selected one of these breakdowns and was limited to a max of a 51 in 3-point shooting. Not much info on this, even though it's super important, sorry. So that's gonna be the first screen you're gonna have. You're gonna pick your position, and then you're not picking an archetype like you did this year. You're not picking, a primary shot creator or a primary sharpshooter. Now you're putting in what you want to be your primary attributes, okay? So let's move on. Physical profile. This section had 3 different choices: strong, even, and fast. He says, I think, so maybe he has the wording wrong. Maybe you couldn't quite hear her, but we get the idea. Strong, even, and fast. This determines your character's speed, acceleration, vertical, and strength. Basically, his athleticism. There are possibly more stats affected, but those are all that she mentioned. She mentioned a few of the stats, but it was kind of hard to hear, and the ones wrote down, blah, 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 blah. I believe she said one of the choices she had was 82 speed, 62 strength, 78 acceleration. A different one was 78 speed and 82 strength. And the third one was 78 speed, 62 strength. And then basically just said it was kind of hard to hear, and he put the link so that if anybody wanted to go listen and try to decipher it for themselves, they could. But we got enough information, let's talk about it for a second. So basically, after you choose your position, and then you choose the attributes you want to be basically your primary attributes, then you go and you decide, essentially your athleticism is what it sounds like, right? Your speed, acceleration, vertical, strength, all your physical attributes, your physical profile, or whatever they called it. So listen, I don't know how accurate obviously the numbers were. He said it was kind of hard to tell, but as you can see, one kind of has a higher strength but lower speed. One's gonna probably have a higher speed, lower strength, and then there's probably gonna be a middle ground that you could pick. I'm sure weight and stuff will have an effect on this. He talks about it a little later on, but we're starting to paint the picture of how it's going to work. And as you can see, you're going to pick your position, then you're going to pick your skills, and then you're going to pick your athleticism. Let's move on. Second screen. This screen had attribute and badge information. This is sort of a new system, and it's a little difficult to explain. Basically, based on your choices from the previous screen, your player has a cap. Cap being the maximum the stat can reach for your player, not the starting value for each attribute. The game then gives you 439 attribute potential points. You can spend these points to increase the cap up to a certain amount based on your previous choices. I'm going to call this a cap limit because I don't know what else to call it. After using all your points, you will have the final attribute caps for your player. So this is where builds are going to start to get really unique. Now that was a lot of information, but think about it. Just because somebody picks the same position and the same primary attributes as you, your 2 builds could still be completely different builds because you have to distribute these points to decide where your player is going to max out in each category for each attribute. This isn't where, like I said, it's not going to be where your player's attributes are starting. It's after you max out that player, how high can certain ones get. Obviously, there's going to be restrictions, they said, depending on what attributes you selected as your primary attributes, but it sounds like a very unique system so far. So the next info we have, now based on the number of points you spend in each attribute class, you get badge upgrade points for that specific badge type. So for example, if you increase your 3-point shooting attribute, you will get badge upgrade points for the shooting badge type. Each badge upgrade point allows you to equip 1 level of a badge, with higher tier badges costing more points. 2 for silver, 3 for gold, 4 for Hall of Fame. It doesn't seem like there's a limit on number of total badges you can have.
the winner of the 2019 Motor Trend Car of the Year and North American Car of the Year, can now be on display in your driveway. During the Genesis Summer Sales Event, lease a Genesis G70 with 0 due at signing and 0 first month's payment. Hurry into your local Genesis retailer for this exceptional offer.
There are 3 words that mean everything when you live with migraine. I am here. Aim to say that more with Aimovig, a preventive treatment for migraine in adults that reduces the number of monthly migraine days. For some, that number can be cut in half or more. Don't take Aimovig if you're allergic to it. Allergic reactions like rash or swelling can happen hours to days after use. Common side effects include injection site reactions and constipation. Aim to be there more. Talk to your doctor about Aimovig.
So again, this is going to contribute to how unique builds will be on 2K20. It's going to be hard to have the same build as somebody, because think about it. You got to decide where your attribute caps are going to cap out at, and then it's going to determine what badges you can unlock. But then you have the choice of which ones to unlock, which, what tier of badge you want to put it up to. If you put it up, if you put a badge up to Hall of Fame, you spend those 4 points or whatever it was saying, then you're going to have less points to spend on other badges. It's really going to contribute to unique player builds. Okay, so now we have an example of one of the builds she made. So it says the first build she made had 27 finishing badges, 1 shooting badge, 9 playmaking badges, and 9 defense for a total of 46 points. Her second build had 3 finishing badges, 8 shooting badges, 6 playmaking, 20 defense for a total of 37 points. Her third build had 5 finishing, 14 shooting, 6 playmaking, 13 defense for a total of 38 points. So it appears that the number of badge upgrade points isn't equal for all builds. So this one's a little confusing to me. I don't know why different builds would get different amounts of points. I have a few scenarios in my head as to how it could make sense. Maybe if you pick badges that are in your primary attribute category, maybe they cost less points, or I'm not really sure. Honestly, I'm a little confused by that. So if you have a good explanation of why they would do it so certain builds get more points than others, comment down below, because that's one thing that really that's the one thing that I'm still kind of on the fence about. I don't really understand exactly what they're trying to say, but at least we're starting to get a decent idea of how it's all coming together. Let's move on. Third screen. After this, your build was given a name that feels like a name that NBA players would have in my career. For example, you guys know like all-around superstar. They have perimeter threat. They have like all these different names that they classify NBA players as, not the typical archetype system that we're used to. Apparently, you're going to get those names in 2K20 depending on how you do your attributes and your badges and stuff. But let's keep reading. At this point, I think she selected her height, weight, and wingspan. Everything seemed pretty similar to previous games. Only thing worth mentioning is that she said that dropping her height by 1 inch increased her speed by 3 points. Now, I think this is kind of depending on the position, because even in 2K19, if you drop the center by 1 inch, he gained like 10 speed. But if you drop the point guard by 1 inch, he did not gain 10 speed. Okay, so I think that's going to depend on position, I'm assuming, but obviously we don't know. That's all the information that it says there. And the last information on this screen, he says, I think this screen also had her select her takeover. It seems you'll have the choice between 2 or 3 different takeovers depending on which caps you increased. Sharpshooter has been renamed to Spot Up Shooter, gives a bonus to shooting from deep, especially catch and shoot. So originally when this news broke on Twitter about the takeover, everyone was freaking out because they said you could choose your takeover. So people are like, oh, I'm going to make a paint protector and get sharp takeover and, yada, yada, yada. Well, it doesn't seem like it works like that. It depends on what you upgrade, and then you'll have a choice between a few things. So for example, I'm assuming if you upgrade a lot of your shooting attributes, you'll have the choice between either shot creator takeover or sharpshooter takeover. So this is another way to make things more unique. Apparently there's no more dual takeover or double takeover, whatever you want to say. You have to choose one takeover to have, so it's going to be really hard to have the same build as somebody. The attributes, the badges, and then even the takeover. You could have basically a very similar build to me, but you might choose sharpshooter takeover, but I chose shot creator takeover. That changes how our players will perform tremendously. So I really think it sounds good. Obviously I have not actually touched it and played it, but from everything I'm reading and hearing, it sounds really good. Now the last thing I have for you is badges and a lot of details about what new badges are doing, so you guys can check this out. It says here, fourth screen. This screen was all about badges, so I'm just going to list the new ones that I heard. So as you guys can see, clamps, off-ball pest, all this stuff. I'll leave it up. You guys can pause it at any time that you want. What I will say is what it seems like they did was they removed some of the old badges that we're used to from like 2K19, 2K18 and stuff. And they removed it, but they put in like 3 or 4 more badges that is similar to that badge that they removed, but they broke it down into different sections. For example, defensive stopper was taken out, but then they put in different things that, you know, like there's a new badge for post defense, there's a new badge for perimeter defense. So defensive stopper technically isn't in the game, but they took defensive stopper and just broke it up into 2 or 3 new badges, so it's more specific to each player, which I honestly feel is a better way to do it. But listen, this is basically a full breakdown of the new NBA 2K20 My Player Builder system. Like I said, I had seen a ton of videos with the title of this, but none of them really explained it in any clear-cut way that I actually could understand. So when I saw this on Twitter, and people that actually attended Community Day and got to play the game confirmed that this is accurate, I knew I had to post it because I knew some of you guys are sitting there in the dark like, I have no idea what it's looking like. So hopefully this helps some of you guys out. Please drop a like, subscribe if you guys are new. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.